Hello, my name is Rosso, and this is my faculty presentation. Good morning and welcome back to the 2013-2014 school year. Many of you may know me already, but for those of you who don't, my name is Rosso. I just assumed the role of Vice Principal. I've been asked to speak to you today about 10 principles of learning that we should all be thinking about as we're about to start a brand new school year and as we begin planning our instruction for our students. These are also the principles that we should be reflecting on as we work together during the evaluation process this year. I would also like to mention that at any time, please do not hesitate to come and talk to me if you have any questions, concerns, or comments about any of the information that I'm covering today or about something that you want to implement into your own teaching practices but are unsure of how to do so. I'd be happy to talk to you and to try to help you out. As I said before, I'm really looking forward to working with each of you. I believe that our collaboration will not only enhance our own learning, but will really benefit the achievement of our students. The 10 learning principles that I have prepared for you today also tie into our evaluation model, which is the Charlotte-Danielson model. There are 4 domains in the Charlotte-Danielson model, which are planning and preparation, classroom environment, instruction, and professional responsibilities. In domain 1, we will be looking for a demonstration of knowledge of content and pedagogy, demonstration of knowledge of students, selection of instructional outcomes, demonstration of knowledge of resources, design of coherent instruction, and assessment of student learning. My first learning principle is sequence of instruction. As I come to visit your classes, I will be looking for a set routine that enables the students to know and understand what will occur on a daily basis. I expect to see that the students are familiar with the order of instruction. On a daily basis, you should also have clear learning objectives, and the students should also know what the objective of the day is. Without clear objectives for a lesson, it is really hard to gauge where the students are and how close they are to achieving the instructional goals for the unit. During your lessons, I will be looking for an opening activity such as a do now, introduction of a new concept, or a review of a concept as it relates to where you are in your unit and what you're planning on covering or teaching that day. I will also be looking for guided practice of a concept and checks for understanding to make sure that the students are on track to achieving the goals. I will also be looking for independent and group practice so that the students have the opportunity to practice what they're learning and to really reinforce that learning. At the end of each lesson, I expect to see a closure or a reflection. This can also include an application. How does the material apply to the real world? Our second learning principle, the student's background and interest. In your lesson plans, I would expect to see that you're reflecting on the students who are in your classes. There should be evidence of your students' needs, backgrounds, perspectives, and interests reflected in each of your lessons. Also in your lessons, I should see modifications of class materials that meet the needs of the students who are in your classes. Some questions that you could think about as you're going through your lessons are your materials and lessons relevant to the lives of your students, and how are you catering to your students' strengths while also helping them build upon their weaknesses? Domain 2 of the Charlotte-Danielson model is the classroom environment. In this domain, we will be looking for the creation of an environment of respect and rapport, management of student behavior, established culture for learning, management of classroom procedures, and organization of physical space for learning. For the third learning principle that I have, I will be focusing on classroom routines. So routines and rules should be established in your classrooms, and I would expect that by October or mid-October that they would mostly be carried out by your students. You should also have clear consequences in place when these expectations are not met by your students. If I'm in your classroom and there happens to be a student who is misbehaving in any way, I would expect to see this be addressed. Even if the student might not change the behavior, I do want to see that you're addressing it with them. I would also be looking to see that the class is organized and that desks are arranged in a manner that permits the students to work easily together if needed. If you are planning a group activity for the day, I would not want to see it takes the students 5 minutes to put their desk into a table. All of this should be reflected on prior to the start of the lesson. Students should also know where to obtain their materials that are needed for class, and they should know when to get them without disrupting the flow of the class. For example, if you have a portfolio system in your classroom and the students need their folders, it might be helpful to have a routine where the students distribute those folders at the beginning of class instead of students going to get them in the middle of instruction and disrupting the flow of the class. Learning Principle 4 also pertains to the learning environment. I would expect the learning environment to promote independence, ownership, and comfort. There should be positive and respectful relationships between the teacher and the students. And I would also be looking to see that there are positive interactions from student to student. I will also be looking at how often your students contribute to class discussions. I will be looking at the percentage of student participation in activities and to see if you're calling on a variety of students and not just the same 2 or 3 students throughout the entire class period. I'll also be looking to see that the students and teacher are responding positively and non-judgmentally to student contributions. If students feel that their input is valued, they're more likely to participate and contribute to the learning of everyone. Domain 3 is instructional management. In this domain, we focus on communicating clearly and accurately, using questioning and discussion techniques, engaging students in learning, providing feedback to students, and demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness. Our 5th learning principle is clear expectations and objectives. We should have clear oral and written instructions and objectives for students. By having clear objectives for students, students will know what they need to do to meet the goals, and they can also participate in evaluating their own work and setting goals to improve their own learning. On the side, I have goal setting and SMART goal setting. Your goals, when you're creating them, they should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Learning principle number 6, feedback to students. Provide immediate, meaningful, or substantive feedback. Feedback should be specific in terms of what the student has done well or what he or she might need to focus on more in the future. Oftentimes, a lot of teachers, or some teachers I should say, will assign a grade or a letter grade such as A, B, C, or they'll say great job or well done or excellent, and this doesn't really provide the students with feedback for them to grow, and it doesn't provide them feedback on what they're actually doing well. So although it says great job, they don't know what was great about their work. In the example to the right, it says, excellent, Sally. You have got really good results. Your graphs are very clear. Add more detail to your conclusions. Start with, my results are like this because friction, and then Sally has the opportunity to actually go back and give more details in her conclusion. This example tells her also what she did really well, and it also gives her a focused goal on how to make her work even better. Effective feedback provides students with more motivation, growth, and self-evaluation skills. Feedback to students. Chappa states effective feedback has the following characteristics. 1, it directs attention to the intended learning, pointing out the strengths and offering specific information to guide improvement. It occurs during the learning while there is still time to act on it. It addresses partial understanding. It does not do the thinking for the student, and it limits corrective information to the amount of advice the student can act on. Our 7th learning principle focuses on students. We should be tailoring our instruction to the needs and interests of our students. If we're in the middle of a lesson and you find it's just not going well with your students, even if you're being evaluated, it would be better for you to try to change the lesson on your feet to make it go better with your students, instead of just sticking with the plan and just finding it's not helping your students achieve the goals that you want it to. The teacher should also use multiple ways to provide information to students. Instead of just speaking to them in a lecture format, you could also have visuals to help the students understand what is going on. By having more than one way of instructing your students, you're giving them a better chance of learning what it is that you want them to learn. Visual and spatial activities, they increase the rate and degree of learning. Modeling also allows the students to follow the teacher's thought process and to imitate that so that they themselves are able to do what it is that you're asking them to do. The 8th learning principle that I have for you today focuses on student engagement. You should be aware of how much time you are speaking in the class and how much time you're giving the students to interact with what they are learning. You should also be using a variety of activities. If you look at the graphic to the right, it shows you the average retention rate for specific teaching methods that are being used. So say a teacher just uses a lecture format in their class for an entire period, the average retention rate of the students after the 24 hours is only 5%. By using a couple different teaching methods, or by using a method in which the students get to manipulate what it is that they're learning and practice what they're learning, they go up to 75% of retaining that information. The 9th learning principle revolves around authentic learning. Authentic learning focuses on real-world complex problems and their solutions, using role-playing exercises, problem-based activities, and case studies. So essentially, this is learning by doing. Our students need the opportunity to learn by manipulating what it is that they're expected to learn. By being able to manipulate it, they're able to apply it later on. You should also be aware of different questioning techniques that you're using in your classroom. Make sure that your questions don't only require the students to recall the information that it is that you have taught them. You should also be using questions that require higher order thinking or promote higher order thinking, and that help the students make connections between what they're learning to the real world. Domain 4 focuses on professional responsibilities. In this domain, we focus on reflecting on teaching, maintaining accurate records, communicating with families, contributing to the school and district, growing and developing professionally, and showing professionalism. I believe that everyone here has expertise in an area, and I believe that collaboration is essential for the success of our school. So as I'm coming into your classrooms and observing, I would expect to see evidence that you're working with and collaborating with grade level and subject area teachers. Communication with families and parents is also very important for the success of our students. I would also like to see that you're participating in professional learning opportunities and sharing what you are learning with your colleagues. By working together, teachers, administration, students, and parents, we can only further improve the education that our students are receiving. By working together, we are modeling for our students the importance of collaboration and working together to achieve our goals. By continuing to learn from one another, we are not only contributing to our students' growth, but also to our own. That also ties into my last quote, which is, "Who dares to teach must never cease to learn." Thank you, and I look forward to working with each of you this year to ensure that we have a successful school year.